welcome to Flipkart for India, where we speak to Team Flipkart about initiatives they have taken to make a better India. Hello and welcome to Flipkart for India. The 21st century is not going according to the way we thought it would. The entire world was under lockdown for months. In fact, some cities are still under full lockdown, while others slowly trying to open up. If there is anything positive we can take away from this time, is our realization of how we've been toying around with nature just for our convenience. And it's time for us as individuals and companies to come together and work towards an India that is cleaner, purer, and environmentally sustainable. Flipkart is one of the few companies that have already started working towards sustainability. And to discuss this, joining me is the Head of Sustainability and Social Responsibility at Flipkart, Mr. Mahesh Singh. Thank you for joining. It's just me applauding at you, but thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much.
Let me start off with the first question. How important is it to be environmentally friendly as a corporate?
I think it is absolutely important, because when you look at where we basically are heading as a society, as a community, and the role corporate has within that ecosystem to make a difference, it's actually quite meaningful opportunity to really make an impact. And when you really look at the sort of three broad components between government, civil society, and people like you and me, and corporates have both resources to some extent, but more importantly also the intention and ability to execute on this agenda. And given that environment is a very, very important part of input in making a business sustainable, many of us wouldn't be in business, I would say 15, 20, 30 years down the line if we don't really protect and preserve the environment. It really brings that sense of urgency and importance to try and tackle exploitation of environment which has come this far, and try to halt that and start being fairly optimistic, start reversing that cycle. So that's really where the need is very paramount, and that's really where the opportunity is. And at Flipkart, we are quite excited about owning that opportunity and moving needle forward on that.
Oh, great, because ever since I was a kid, I've been hearing how plastics are bad. So how are you tackling the problem of plastic?
Yeah, I think plastic is a beautiful material, but if not dealt properly, the kind of havoc it's causing on our marine life, on the landfills, it's well documented. And at Flipkart, we're taking that responsibility very, very seriously. I'm happy to share that we already got to a stage where we eliminated half of single-use plastic from our supply chain. And this is just an intermediate milestone in our journey. We have made commitment to fully eliminate single-use plastic from our supply chain. And as we continue making progress on that, we've also sort of taken an EPR authorization from Central Pollution Control Board. What it means is any plastic consumption we do as an organization, we are actually collecting equivalent plastic quantity back from the planet, from the external ecosystem, which simply put mean that we are adding zero incremental plastic to the planet. And that's something we're quite proud about. We will continue turbocharging on 50% to 100% elimination journey on single-use plastic. That's something which is a little bit more near-term milestone we're chasing, but quite proud of not adding any incremental plastic to our beautiful planet.
That is incredible. I thought there'd be some bit. The fact that you're already using the plastic that's already made itself is a big achievement. Now, I have a question about all the Flipkart employees that you work with. Are they all agents of change, or is it just people like you at the head leadership?
No, I think a lot of these initiatives are fairly distributed and employee owned. I would basically say employees play a very big part. I think they are the one who keeps us on the toes, right? Everyone is given that we have a very young and millennial workforce, right? The median age and all that, the awareness for a lot of these issues, fortunately, is very high. and role for people like sustainability team, people like me and broader leadership really is to channelize those best intentions and effort in a right manner. But a lot of this is pretty distributedly owned by employees. They're signing up as volunteers for Planeteers group. They're coming forward in the events we're doing in terms of sustainability action dialogues and so on. So I would say they are not, they're change agent, but they are equal partner in this journey where they're owning specific streams, keeping us honest in this journey and really driving us forward, saying, should we be doing more? Could we be doing faster and so on?
All right, so that means the change is kind of coming from underneath as well and not just from the top management.
Yes, absolutely. And that's how it's more sustainable. It's not about 5 people and 10 people. When you really do this sort of bottom of the pyramid and foundational pieces, it really becomes a behavioral trait which lasts much longer.
All right, the last question I thought was quite tough, but very well handled. But this question is going to be tougher. Because yes, you can probably avoid plastic with paper, but because you're an e-commerce business, the tertiary sector, which is the transportation sector, is so very important. And we all know the pollution that it causes. Is there any way that Flipkart is tackling this?
Yes, and you put it rightly. I think that's a little bit more difficult problem, but Flipsters love difficult challenges. So yes, we're doing our bit when it comes to it. We have signed up and committed to 100% transition to electric vehicles as part of the Climate Group's global EV 100 initiatives. So intention is we've already moved the needle when it comes to transitioning, let's say, 3-wheelers and 4-wheelers and 2-wheelers. We're doing some work. But what we are signing up for is by 2030, we will fully transition to 100% electric vehicle. And as you said, it's a difficult challenge because a lot of this is also a function of how the ecosystem evolves, how automobile manufacturers come with model which works for our requirement and all that. But we're taking a leadership role in this, rolling our sleeves and saying, look, we will shape the ecosystem. We will nudge players to come together. And I think given that we're looking at decade view here, working with a lot of forward-looking, like-minded organizations, we're quite confident that this is something we will continue making progress on.
Oh wow, so you have to literally push the needle ahead so that other people can follow.
Right.
It would be incredible to see like a completely electronic vehicle led. It'd be insane to see it. Can you please also put like automated so that there's nobody inside so that then I can take a trip, go, never mind.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is incredible. Now I have another question for you. So we've gone from plastic, then we've gone to transportation. But again, as a part of any corporate, there's a lot of waste and there's a lot of waste management.
Right.
So I wanted to know, how is Flipkart handling having so many branches across the country?
Right. So I think when we look at sustainability, the infrastructure and operations are important consideration in that equation. What we've looked at, if you visit, let's say, our Bangalore headquarters, there's so much effort which has gone in how we've designed those facilities. There is no plastic water bottles you're going to find there. And there's such a sort of high degree of education and awareness in how we sort of minimize our waste, how do we sort of segregate it and try doing minimal diversions to landfill. And that's similar sort of discipline and awareness we are spreading in our broader facilities when you think of fulfillment centers and delivery hubs and so on. And what we're also doing there is looking at what else. I mean, waste has many considerations. There's a plastic waste, there's a hazardous waste, there is every category of waste has been looked at and responsibly dealt with in our scheme of operations.
So you have to not just segregate the waste, but you have to look at a different way to take care of the waste. And that's here I crib about wet waste and dry waste. I really need to take all of this into consideration, which brings me to a very good point about everyone at Flipkart as individual employees. Is the senior leadership kind of talking to them about how to be more environmentally friendly, or are you leaving that up to each employee's discretion?
No, I think and that's a great point, Abish, because in this whole journey, we consider employees as our biggest change agent, right? At the end of the day, if you start involving them in the process, involving them in the journey, and they starting to own this up, not only makes the mission broadly owned, these best practices also go in their own personal backgrounds and families where the movement starts. So we've looked at various ways where we could get employees a part of the process. So when we shifted to, let's say, new campus, we basically created a sense of healthy competitive spirit in terms of which tower generates more waste, and then started publishing it and so on. We took it notches higher. This environment day, we created a virtual platform and got a lot of external leaders, internal leaders together to do a conversation on sustainability, what it means for corporates, for people's personal agenda. And we launched a volunteer group called Planeteers, which allows like-minded sort of employees to sign up and do their bit. So today we have a lot of volunteers in Planeteers group, part of our extended army in different parts of organization, spreading the awareness, owning some of the initiatives and saying, look, in my domain, I see this is an opportunity and I'm going to do this. So I think that's something which is going to be an ongoing journey, but we're making a beginning, and I think early signs in terms of what we are hearing back from employees is quite encouraging.
Oh, wow. You've basically spoken about all of these points. If you wouldn't mind, could you tell us some milestones that you had set and you have hit in the last 1 year when it comes to environment at Flipkart?
So I think I talked about things like getting to 50% single-use plastic reduction. We've got there. Very recently, we were basically looking at committing EV a little bit more aggressively. We got to EV 100 pledge. And about a couple of years back, we took another milestone as an organization, saying, could we look at our strategic facilities and get an ISO 14001 sort of certification for them to be prepared for tackling environmental pollution. So I'm quite happy to share that we were one of the only player who had highest number of facilities being signed up and certified in ISO 14001 as a testimony of our preparedness for environmental pollution. I talked about EPR registration pretty early on in our journey. We've launched a volunteering group like Planeteers and have created sort of a structured dialogue mechanism, Sustainability Action Summit, which has worked well for us. So I think there are a lot of pieces, and it just doesn't stop there. We've also looked at how do we drive resource efficiencies and renewables in our operations. So we're very proud to say that we have today data centers which are largely powered by green energy. We are looking at saying, as we build new infrastructure, large-scale greenfield operations, how do we get highest standard of sustainability integrated in those design and planning considerations as we shape those forward.
Okay. Now that we asked about the environment, because of the pandemic that's going on currently,
right?
And I know how you've mentioned how everyone at Flipkart is already very conscious about the environment. So obviously, when the pandemic came in, have you been able to implement the same vision that you have for the environment, but towards tackling the pandemic in every way possible?
Sure. So I think we look at this as, we look at environmental and social consideration quite joint. We look at it saying, while planet is important, people are equally important to that extent. And I think one of the area which we've been focused about as a business is how do we drive the culture of giving back to the community, right? We today enjoy this platform which has tremendous reach, and if you could leverage that platform to drive that culture where people who could give back to community gives back and makes a difference, that really helps. And that goes back every time there was a cyclone or flood relief, we leveraged the bandwidth or reach of employees, customers to mobilize resources. We took that a lot more aggressively when COVID hit, right? We said, look, what else could we do? We came with constructs where we had these loyalty programs, Myntra's Insider Coins, Flipkart had Super Coins and so on. We said, look, could we give our customers an option to redeem their reward points or loyalty points to donate hygiene kits, sustenance kit, masks and so on. And we saw tremendous response, right? We've also, as an organization, working with our global stakeholders, Walmart, global sourcing, looked at the problem in March, April when the crisis was breaking up pretty rapidly, India was struggling with PPEs, right? We said, look, could we leverage our global supply chain to get these hard to find medical supplies in form of PPEs, N95 masks in the country, and empower our frontline health workers to really go and do their job. And very proud to say today we are at a stage where we basically got almost a million PPE gowns, almost 500,000 N95 masks coming in and contributing to India's fight for COVID. Daan Utsav is a classic example. We started last year supporting various causes, starting from environment, skilling, menstrual hygiene, education, and so on. We're taking this forward even this year, and idea is, as everyone celebrates festives, BBD comes in. We also want to make BBD synonymous with giving back to the community. So we're celebrating Daan Utsav. We've again picked themes around economic empowerment, pieces around skilling, women empowerment, and so on. And we are leveraging our customers and employees to come forward and start contributing to these causes. So a lot of work going on, not just in monetary form. Our employees are signing up to teach underprivileged kids English. Our employees are signing up to help NGOs prepare websites, leveraging their tech expertise. So quite a lot of that work going on.
So if I'm hearing it right, Mahesh, you're saying your employees are working at Flipkart, but at the same time helping the environment, working at Daan Utsav, working as NGOs, planeteers. I think you need to increase the workload, is what I'm going to say. It's Big Billion Days coming up right now, and they're all doing such good work. This
Absolutely.
is incredible. It's so reassuring to hear this, to know that, oh, wait, sometimes what happens from a normal person like me is that we never look at the corporates. We're always like, oh, corporates, they're bad. But hearing you talk, I'm like, man, there is so much going on that even I'm not aware of. So thank you so much for coming and telling us all of this and kind of making me feel better. Any final words you would like to tell everybody who's watching right now for the Big Billion Days?
No, I think we covered most of it. I think this is a very long journey. We are in very early stages of what we're doing. We're very committed every single day. How do we accelerate the progress? Because a lot of what we're dealing in terms of sustainable development journey, these are issues we've accumulated over decades and centuries. So right now it's about how forward-looking organizations like us come forward and leverage power of things like technology, which could sort of make a lot of linear progression exponential in how you solve these problems. That's really what keeps us going as Flipsters, and that's really what we are hoping to continue leveraging as India shops and as India drives consumption through PBD. We're looking back and saying, how do we make sure that consumption is responsible year after year, and how do we then create that virtuous cycle where responsible consumption and sustainable development journey goes hand in hand, making us a lot more sustained society.
Wow, those are some really nice words. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you so much.
Have a good night. Thank you so much, Mahesh, for joining us. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, that was Mahesh, extremely inspired currently to kind of take charge of the world around me as well. Thank you everyone for joining in. I know it's a little late, but I will see you tomorrow again at 10 in the morning. See you.